Tonight there is nowhere you need to be except inside a small inn where the windows have gone white with frost and the fire has been kept low for the night. If you would like to, let your shoulders soften a little now. Let your hands grow still. Let your breathing find an easier rhythm. And as the rest of the world drifts farther away, imagine that you have come at last to a quiet valley road in winter, where the snow has already covered the fields, the stone walls, and the dark roots of the pines, and where a single old inn glows warmly behind amber glass. The sign above the door reads in careful painted letters, Frostglass Inn. It hangs from a wrought iron bracket and moves only slightly in the cold. Snow is gathered on the top edge of the sign, softening its shape. Below it, lantern light spills over the front step and turns the fresh snow gold. The road that brought you here has become very quiet behind you. No wheels pass. No voices follow. The valley seems to have accepted the night entirely. The only sounds are the small dry whisper of falling snow, the distant sigh of wind in the pines, and, once in a while, the gentle creak of the sign as it shifts above the door. The inn itself is made of old stone, dark timber, and many paned windows. Warm light glows from within, but not brightly. It is the kind of light that does not call attention to itself. It simply waits, steady and hospitable, as if it has been there all evening and will remain there long after the valley has gone fully to sleep. You brush the snow from your coat and gloves. The latch is old brass, cool beneath your hand, and when you open the door, the whole night changes at once. Outside, there was winter air, pale snow, and quiet distance. Inside, there is wood smoke, lamplight, and warmth. Not a great rush of heat, only a gentle welcome. The entrance hall is floored in worn oak boards that hold a low amber shine. A braided rug softens your first steps. Somewhere farther in, a fire settles in its grate with a quiet shifting sound. The air smells faintly of cedar, tea, and something baked hours ago that still lingers kindly in the room. An innkeeper looks up from a ledger behind the front desk. She is wrapped in a dark wool shawl and has the composed, unhurried manner of someone who has spent many winters learning exactly how to keep a house calm. A brass lamp beside her lights the open pages of the ledger and the blue glaze of a teapot resting on a warmer. When she sees you, she smiles in a way that asks nothing of you at all. "You made it before the deeper snow," she says softly. Her voice seems to fit the room as naturally as the lamplight does. You give your name, and she turns one page in the ledger with careful fingers. The paper makes a dry, delicate sound. She finds the line she needs, nods once, and reaches for a key hanging from a wooden board behind the desk. It is a small iron key with a pale glass bead tied to it on a faded ribbon. "Second floor," she says. "Room 6. But there is no hurry. The fire is still warm in the sitting room, and there is fresh tea if you would like some before you go up. No better invitation could have been offered. You thank her, and she places the key in your hand. It is cool now, but light enough that it hardly feels like a burden to carry. Beside the desk, an umbrella stand holds walking sticks and 2 snow-dusted branches left there to dry. Along the wall hangs a framed map of the valley, its lines faded by time, its corners slightly curled beneath the glass. You follow the suggestion of warmth toward the sitting room. The doorway opens into a long, low space with dark beams overhead and thick stone walls that keep the winter outside where it belongs. At one end, a wide hearth holds a banked fire. The flames are not lively now. They move slowly among red coals and settled logs, sending up a steady warmth and a glow soft enough for tired eyes. Above the mantel stand 3 brass candlesticks unlit and a small clock that ticks so quietly it seems to respect the hour. There are only a few signs that other travelers have passed through this room tonight. A folded newspaper rests on one armchair. A scarf has been forgotten over the back of another. A chessboard near the window shows the beginning of a game that was never finished. Everything suggests not abandonment, but trust. The trust of a quiet house where things may remain in place until morning without concern. You choose the chair nearest the fire. Its cushion gives comfortably beneath you. A small round table stands beside it with a ceramic lamp, a shallow dish of sugared almonds, and a stack of books bound in faded cloth. Their titles are hard to read in the low light, but they seem to concern harbors, mountain roads, and old guest customs from parts of the world you need not visit tonight except in imagination. After a moment, the innkeeper appears again, carrying a teacup and small blue pot. Juniper and black tea, she says. Good for winter evenings. She sets the tray beside you and leaves without another word, as though she understands that comfort is best offered gently and then allowed to settle on its own. Steam rises in a thin, silver line from the cup. The tea is fragrant, dark, and clean, with the faintest woodland note beneath its warmth. Outside the nearest window, frost has begun to gather at the corners of the panes in delicate branching feathers. Through the clear center, you can still see a little of the courtyard beyond. A snow-covered well, the edge of a stone wall, the dark shape of a stable roof, and beyond that, only the muted white of the valley night. The wind moves once across the outer wall with a low passing hush. Then, even that grows still again. You sit by the fire and let the room become simpler. The cup warms your hands. The lamp lowers the world into a small circle of amber. The coals settle from time to time with tiny, soft sounds. The old clock continues its discreet, patient ticking. And gradually the thought of the snowy road disappears completely, as if it belonged to a much earlier hour and to someone else. Near the fireplace stands a long shelf lined with crockery, folded blankets, and a few objects that seem to belong more to memory than function. A brass bell with no visible striker, a small painted sled, no longer used, a glass jar filled with smooth white stones, and a guest book with thick cream pages laid open beneath a paperweight. At length, curiosity invites you from the chair. You cross the room slowly, carrying your teacup with you, and pause by the guest book. The inn has kept one for many years. You can tell that at once from the softened leather cover, the careful repairs made to the spine, and the different hands in which dates and names have been written across the pages. Some entries are only a line long. Warm fire, deep snow, slept well. Others mention roads closed by weather, the kindness of the kitchen, the stillness of the valley after midnight. One entry from long ago has been written in very small, neat letters. The windows were silver with frost, and all the world seemed to pause outside them. You do not need to read farther than that. It feels accurate enough already. The sitting room holds its quiet around you as if it has practiced doing so for generations. The logs in the hearth are giving more glow now than flame. The snow outside presses its own silence against the glass. Somewhere deeper in the inn, a floorboard settles and is still again. It is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of shelter, the kind in which every necessary thing has already been arranged. hot water in the pipes, blankets folded in cupboards, tea laid out for late arrivals, lamps trimmed low, doors latched gently against the wind. By the time your cup is empty, the room has made you slower. Not sleepy exactly, only quieter. You place the cup back on the tray, take the iron key from your pocket, and step out into the hall again. The innkeeper has left a lamp burning on a side table near the stairs. Its shade is pleated linen the color of cream. On the table below, it rests a shallow bowl of dried orange peels and cloves, filling the nearby air with a faint, spiced scent. The staircase curves upward in polished wood. Each step answers with the softest possible sound beneath your feet. The second-floor corridor is narrower than the hall below, but even calmer. A runner carpet in dark red and blue mutes your steps. Small framed sketches hang along the walls. The valley bridge in summer, the inn under spring rain, a frozen stream with reeds standing through the ice. Lamps in brass brackets have been lowered almost to evening embers. Their light touches the door numbers and leaves the ceiling in shadow. Room 6 waits near the end of the corridor. The key turns easily. Inside is a small room of such measured simplicity that it feels restful at once. A narrow bed has been turned down for the night. A thick quilt lies folded across the foot, stitched in dark blue thread with tiny repeating stars. Beside the bed stands a wooden table holding a ceramic washbowl, a candle already extinguished, and a covered pitcher beaded faintly with warmth from recently drawn water. A straight-backed chair rests by the window, and on its seat is a wool blanket folded with exact care. The air is cool but not cold. A little tile stove in the corner still holds the last reserve of heat from earlier in the evening. You set the key on the table and move toward the window. Here the glass has lived up to the inn's name. Frost has spread across most of the pane in fern-like patterns, silver and opaque around the edges, leaving only a clear oval in the middle, no larger than a hand mirror. Through it, the valley appears hushed beyond belief. Snow lies over the courtyard, the stable roof, the stone wall, and the path leading toward the road. The lantern above the front door sends a dim wedge of gold over the drifted step. Farther off, the pines stand like dark watercolor shapes against a clouded winter sky. You draw the chair closer and sit there for a little while. From below, almost too softly to hear, comes the faint movement of the fire in the hearth. From outside, nothing at first. Then the small dry sound of snow slipping from a branch. Then stillness again. There is a particular comfort in a room prepared before you arrive. The pitcher has been filled, the quilt aired, the blanket folded, the stove banked. Nothing in the room is luxurious in any loud or glittering sense, but everything in it suggests care. Someone thought ahead to the hour when you would finally come in from the snow and need not grandeur but gentleness. You notice a book on the bedside table. It is a local history of the valley, though history here seems to mean old weather, old roads, and the names of streams rather than anything demanding. When you open it, a dried fern falls from between the pages. You set both book and fern carefully aside. Tonight is not for reading deeply. It is enough to know the book is there, waiting in case you wanted company of that quiet sort. A hot water bottle has been tucked beneath the covers. When you touch the bedspread, you feel the low, pleasant warmth hidden there. The kindness of it is almost old-fashioned enough to seem ceremonial. You could go to sleep now without difficulty, but the inn itself seems to have one more layer of quiet to offer. So you leave the room again, moving carefully so the latch does not click too loudly, and follow the corridor toward its farther end, where a narrow window looks over the back of the property. On the sill stands a small lantern with blue glass panels. Its flame has been turned down low enough to be almost entirely gold, and it gives the passage a look not unlike a ship at rest. At the end of the hall, a second staircase leads a few steps down to a tiny upper landing no bigger than a reading nook. There, built beneath the sloping roof, is a bench cushioned in faded green wool and a shelf of books left for sleepless travelers. A copper kettle sits on a trivet above a spirit warmer gone out. Beside it are two cups, one turned upside down, the other right side up, as if someone had meant to return. You sit on the bench and look through the small back window. Behind the inn is a garden asleep beneath snow. Low stone borders make pale lines beneath the drifts. The herb beds are hidden completely. A wooden gate leans inward under a white cap. Beyond it, the valley rises gently toward the tree line, and all of it is held under the same calm, dim sky. Here, the inn feels even quieter than before. The roof above you keeps back the cold. The walls keep the wind at a polite distance. The whole building seems to breathe in old wood and stored winter warmth. You begin to notice the smaller sounds that belong only to a house asleep for the night. A faraway settling in the rafters. The faint hum of heat traveling through pipes. The mild clink of something cooling in the kitchen below. And now and then, the almost imperceptible stir of the lantern flame beside the window. It is easy to imagine how many nights like this the inn has held. Snowstorms and clear frost, late arrivals and early departures, boots drying by the hearth, letters written at the small desk downstairs, steam on the kitchen windows before dawn, guest books filling, one calm line after another. Nothing grand needs to happen for a place to become beloved. Sometimes it is enough that it keeps people warm while winter passes the windows. After a while, you rise and make your way back down the corridor. The air on the stairs carries another faint trace of tea and cedar. Halfway down, you notice a door standing slightly ajar near the rear of the first floor. Warm light slips through the opening in a narrow amber line. Inside is the kitchen, or rather the quiet after the kitchen. The work of the evening has already ended. Crocks are stacked. Towels hang drying near the stove. A loaf sits beneath a cloth on the far counter for morning. Copper pans reflect the banked light in soft red crescents. On a hook by the door hangs a basket filled with kindling. The great black range is no longer fully hot, but it radiates a low-stored warmth that makes the room feel gently inhabited even in the absence of voices. On the table, someone has left a plate with 2 oat biscuits and a note in slanting handwriting, "For the late snow." You smile, though no one is there to see it. You take one biscuit and leave the other. It tastes of butter, oats, and a little honey. Near the back door is another window gone cloudy with frost, except for one melted patch near the latch. Through it, you can see the yard lantern swaying almost imperceptibly above the shed. Snow continues to fall, but slowly now, more as a patient descent than a storm. Each flake seems to have all the time in the world. You do not linger long. The kitchen feels kind, but it belongs to another rhythm. The morning rhythm of kettles and bread and quiet footsteps before sunrise. For now, the best place is still the room upstairs, waiting with its folded quilt and hidden warmth. When you return to room 6, the atmosphere has settled even further. The clear oval in the frosted window has grown smaller. The stove gives only a faint, last breath of heat. The bed, when you turn back the covers, releases the comfortable stored warmth of linen prepared in advance. You set the blanket over your knees and sit once more by the window. Outside, the valley has almost disappeared into whiteness. Not because the snow is heavy, but because the night has become softer, blurring every edge that was once visible. The stable, the wall, the path, the pines farther back, all seem less like separate things now and more like parts of one quiet winter dream. The lantern above the door is only a muted star through the frost. This is the middle hour of the night, the hour when roads are forgotten, when clocks matter least, when houses settle deepest into themselves, when the mind, if it is willing, can finally loosen its hold on the day. If thoughts have followed you here, they do not need to stay awake much longer. Let them drift down like the snow beyond the glass. Let them rest in the courtyard. Let them soften along the stone wall and vanish under the pines. Nothing urgent can live for long in such a room. The chair is warm enough. The blanket is heavy enough. The window is quiet enough. The whole inn seems to be reminding you without words that for this one winter night you are completely looked after. Eventually you draw the covers back fully and slip beneath them. The sheets are cool only for a moment. Then the hidden warmth reaches you. The quilt settles over you with a reassuring weight. From the bedside table, the faint outline of the book remains just visible in the low light coming through the frosted pane. The chair by the window becomes a darker shape against the glass. The room itself seems to lower its voice another degree. From somewhere below comes one last sound from the hearth. A soft shifting, a tiny settled sigh of ash. Then no more. You lie there and listen to the inn, not because there is much to hear, but because the absence of noise has its own texture. The beams above hold still. The pipes no longer hum. The corridor beyond the door is empty. Outside, the wind has gone elsewhere. The silence that remains is complete without being blank. It has depth to it, like dark water, like snowfall at midnight, like the pause between one bell and the next. You begin to imagine the rest of the inn sleeping around you. The guestbook closed downstairs beneath its paper weight. The blue teapot washed and left upside down to dry. The scarf still waiting on the chair by the hearth. The unfinished chessboard by the frosted window. The bowl of orange peels and cloves beside the stairs. The kitchen table with one biscuit still on the plate. The lamp on the upper landing turned almost to emberlight. Each small thing in its place. Each room content to remain itself until morning. And because everything around you has grown so settled, your thoughts can settle too. No road to follow now. No more snow to walk through. No door left to open. Only the room, the quilt, the frosted pane, and the old inn holding the night steady around you. After some time, though it is impossible and unnecessary to measure how long, the darkness begins to change by the smallest degrees. Not toward day exactly, only away from its deepest hour. The window remains silver with frost, but behind it there is now a paler kind of dark. The shape of the chair becomes clearer. The line of the pitcher on the washstand separates from the wall. Somewhere in the valley, a bird gives one tentative note and then decides against beginning the morning so early. You remain beneath the quilt and watch the room become visible again. The shift is so gradual it feels less like waking than like a second layer of quiet revealing itself beneath the first. Soon, the courtyard lantern outside is no longer a star behind the frost, but a distinct little flame. The stable roof gathers a faint border of blue-gray light. The stone wall emerges. The pines beyond it become darker and more definite. Morning has not arrived, but it is on its way. From below comes the first true sign of it. A distant door opened carefully, then closed, followed by the far soft movement of someone crossing the hall. The innkeeper, perhaps, or someone in the kitchen laying the first fire of the day. The sound does not disturb the room. It only makes the house feel gently alive again, like a lamp being turned 1 degree brighter. There is still no need to rise. This is one of the calmest moments winter knows. The pause before breakfast, before voices, before the road begins to exist again beyond the snow. You can remain exactly where you are and let the inn carry the morning for you a little longer. The air in the room has cooled slightly, but beneath the covers, all is warmth. The quilt holds its gentle weight. The pillow keeps the shape of rest. The frosted pane turns from silver to pale pearl as the hidden daylight grows. And from somewhere very far below, like a promise rather than an event, comes the first small rattle of a kettle being set in place. In a little while there will be tea again. Bread warming on the range, quiet footsteps in the corridor. Someone turning the sign at the door to welcome the day. But for now, none of that is needed. You are still inside the soft, protected center of the night. The Frostglass Inn has carried you to its edge and asks nothing more of you than this. Rest. Rest while the valley remains white and still. Rest while the windows keep their silver patterns. Rest while the fire below is stirred gently back to life. Rest while snow lies on the gate, the well, the stable roof, and the silent road beyond. If sleep comes, let it come here, in the small room above the quiet hall, with winter held safely outside and every warm thing already waiting for you. Let it come as softly as snow settling on pine boughs, as softly as lamplight on old wood, softly as steam rising from a cup beside a banked fire. The road is finished for tonight. The door is closed. The key rests on the table. The guestbook is sleeping downstairs, and the valley, the inn, and the frosted window have all gone still enough for dreaming. So rest here a little longer, at the Frostglass Inn, where the fire remains low, where the snow keeps falling quietly, where morning can wait outside the silver glass until you are ready for it. Good night.